got 7. Are we ready? It's recording? Okay. We'll call this regular city council meeting to order on Monday, February 3rd, 2020 at 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Horn?
Present.
Mr. Bateman?
Present.
Mr. Welch?
Present.
Mr. Parrott?
Present.
Mr. Downs?
Present.
Mr. Keller?
Present.
Mr. Haneke?
Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have anyone that would like to speak under public participation? All right, moving down to the consent agenda, we have payment of bills, approval of minutes, November 26, 2019, committee of the whole meeting, December 10, 2019, committee of the whole meeting, December 16, 2019, public hearing, and January 28, 2020, committee of the whole meeting. Approval of the tentative 2020 racing schedule at the Lincoln Speedway and the request to permit the use of city property at 315 8th Street on Friday, August 28, 2020, and Saturday, August 29th for the Lincoln Balloons Over 66 weekend events.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Welch made the motion. Ms. Horn seconded. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Moving down to ordinance and resolution, we have the ordinance accepting the dedication of the Stallhat Drive extension into the limits City of Lincoln.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Keller made the motion. Mr. Welch seconded. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Ordinance amending section 9-5-15 of the City Code prohibiting parking on the Stallhat Drive extension.
Move to approve.
Second.
Ms. Horn made the motion. Mr. Bateman seconded. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Ordinance amending section 7-8-1-11 of the City Health and Sanitation Code, sewer use charges.
Motion to approve. Second.
Tracy made the motion. Ron seconded. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Resolution supporting the group workshop volunteer project for Lincoln in 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Steve made the motion. Kathy seconded. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Resolution commemorating Friday, February 7th, 2020 as Lincoln College Charter Day.
Move to approve. Second.
Jeff made the motion. Tracy seconded. Discussion? Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry, Ron.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to announce as an employee of Lincoln College, I probably should abstain from this particular vote, so I will.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Abstain.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Under bids, we have the approval RFP from Keystone Power Holdings LLC for the construction of solar panels at the wastewater treatment plant.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Kevin made the motion. Kathy seconded. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Under new business and communications, we have the advise and consent to the mayoral appointment of Colby Leith as alderman for Ward 2 to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Catherine Schmidt.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Tracy made the motion. Ron seconded. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Hoblet, would you like to swear Mr. Leith in? Colby, if you'd come forward.
Say, I,
I, Colby Leith,
having been appointed to the office
having been appointed to the office
of Alderman 2
of Alderman 2
in the city of Lincoln,
in the city of Lincoln,
in the county of Logan,
in the county of Logan,
aforesaid, do solemnly swear
aforesaid do solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge
and I'll faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Alderman Ward 2
of Alderman Ward 2
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations and welcome.
All right, congratulations. Moving down, we have the approval of Third Amendment to the waste collection agreement between Area Disposal and the City of Lincoln.
Motion to approve. Second.
Sorry, Kevin made the motion, Tracy seconded. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
abstain
Moving down then, we have the approval of invoice number 0207448 from Crawford Murphy and Chili for Union Street Pump Station construction costs in an amount not to exceed $1,018.28.
Motion to approve. Second.
Kevin made the motion, Steve seconded. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
abstain
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Approval of invoice number 0207681 from Crawford Murphy and Tilly for wastewater treatment plant boundary determination cost in an amount not to exceed $2,752.34.
Motion approved.
Second.
Tracy made the motion, Kathy seconded. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
abstain
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Do we have any announcements?
Chief, Fire Chief, this is for you. Dated January 28th, and it came in saying that, I don't even know how to pronounce it, but it's GAIAM, GAIM, TV, Fit, and Yoga, will be increasing from $6.99 to $7.99, and Gaia, Gaia, I don't know if I pronounced it right, $9.99 to $11.99 a month, and Dakarama, $2.99 to $4.99 a month, and that's in effect March 19th of 2020. You have any questions?
I told you the fire chief enjoys them. Mr. Landers?
Yeah, just to let the council know and the public know that we received the $50,000 grant from RDOL. Crews started working on the upgrades today. All the boulevards have been completed, so Park Place, Lincoln Avenue, and Wyatt Avenue all have the new LED light bulbs in them, so if you want to drive by and take a look and see how they illuminate. They'll be starting on downtown next, which will probably take a little bit longer because they're gonna have to do some considerable rewiring and things like that to get those taken care of, so it'll be pretty time consuming. But, if you have a chance, stop by those, or drive down those boulevards and take a look at the difference in the lights, I think you'll be pleased.
Mr. Keller?
Thank you, Mayor. So several weeks back, I had informed you about the census, which, of course, the Census Bureau will begin enumeration here in the next several months. Actually, they began last week. The state of Alaska began their process of the census. Interestingly enough, a Native American whose ancestry goes back hundreds of years was the first person to fill out her form. And the forms will be sent out in March. But the Census Bureau would also like to announce that there are still jobs that are available for anybody who would be interested in being a counter, data collector, someone who follows up with the process of enumeration after the initial response forms are sent out to follow up with those who did not respond. The Census Bureau says that Logan County is at 76% of the capacity needed to fill up that workforce. So $17.50 is the starting pay. So if anybody's interested, go to the census.gov website, look under jobs, and fill out the form. And that will hopefully ensure you a spot to be working for the Census Bureau in Logan County.
Thank you. Other announcements? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Mr. Keller made the motion. Mr. Welch seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 7:12.